Okay, so tonight we're going over the Wireshark lab. And let me go out and get into our assignment so I can tell you exactly what you need to do there. So you just basically need to do on the, you need to install it, first of all. Let me open it up here and I can share the screen. Okay. Okay, so on that bottom there, the week 2 lab, install it on Windows and then basic use. So what you need to turn in is you just need to document the steps on how you installed Wireshark and then how to make a basic IP address filter. We'll go over that. And then you need to pick one other filter type of your choosing and document that as well. Something like the TCP or UDP filter, that Wireshark tutorial. So this right here, can you guys see that? It switched over just fine for you, correct? Okay. So if you look at this, when you get going down, so you have your installation up here. And then as you go down with the getting started with filters, the IP is right there on the top. And then it gives you a couple of other ones there too. So you have pretty much everything you need for your basics on this document. So let's open up Wireshark. I went ahead and started mine because every time I started, I have multiple different network interfaces, and the UAC goes nuts and just bing, 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 bing until it finally brings them all up. So I didn't want it to do that. So I figured I'd just open it and leave it open. Okay, can you guys see Wireshark okay? Perfect. All right, so the one that I'm going to do, actually one thing I'm going to show you here, if what I suggest is, unless you're using a laptop, like it'll show you all of your other stuff, like there's your Bluetooth one. I unchecked everything but my wired interfaces because it comes free when you do the first install, it'll check all of these. So one thing you have to remember to do is you have to click on one of these before you hit the capture button. Otherwise, it will not capture anything, and that is probably the most common mistake that I've seen people make. And I say that because I made it. So when you first start using it, remember you select one of these and then you hit capture. And I think that it's the problem with this is it'll switch over to a different screen. So there we go. So then you have your capture here, and I'm not going to put in the filter right now. I'm just going to let it capture all the traffic. So I'm going to hit start. And then I'll hit share again, because of course it has multiple windows. Can you guys see that one? Okay. So as you can see, it's just dropping all that stuff in there. You don't really need to have it capture a whole ton of traffic for what we're doing. So I just hit stop. And then this right here where it says apply a display filter, that's where you type in your filter. So the easiest thing that you do on these is you just type in, and as you can see, it'll actually start to autofill some of them. So the easiest IP address, if you just want to look at IP addresses, it's ip.addr, and then that'll pull up all of those. Now, does that make sense to you guys, first of all?
So I was wondering if you were, I'm following, but I was just wondering if you were actually typing anything in because the
Did it not
capturing
show?
from Ethernet, yeah, like it's not changing anything on mine.
Can you see that it says, like, I'm typing in the search bar. Did it not capture that at all?
Not for me.
See, that's the problem with this. It has so many different, share here, share this. Hold on, let me see if I can reshare that. Okay, so down below, you see where the little fin is. The area right there is where you type in your IP.addr, and that's just so you can, were you able to, can you see like all the source traffic that dumps under that? Okay, well, I may have to do a screen cap of it. Let me just stop share and reshare and see if it'll. There, is that a little bit easier? Can you actually see the typing in the you should see IP address equals. Okay, now for some reason it was having a fit then. Okay, so if all you're after is just the IP, all the IP address stuff, you do that IP address. If you want it to equal something, that's when you do the equal and say all we want to look at is that source 192.168.0.6. You type in, whoop, space there. And then hit enter. And then, as you can see, that's got them up here on the top. And then, I don't know if you remember this, but you can drop down and you can hit those little side arrows. Is that showing for you guys? Is that showing everything on there? Okay. For some reason, the last one had like an orange border, so it was like showing partial traffic to you guys. But I've got green now. So anyway, so if you look down here, you can have all your information and you can go and look at all of your stuff. So that's just your basic IP filter. Now, if you want to do, let's say UDP, you see where it says protocol over there, that's where it's filtering it. So if you notice, you want to do TCP. Now you've got different protocols down there. It's got your TLS, TCP, but if you want to do UDP, there's your UDPs and all that in there. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so this is just a super basic, this is how you put filters into Wireshark. If you want to do something like, say you want to do TCP port, you can do this. In fact, actually, it just shows up right there on the top. If you want to do that, that's some of the most commonly used ones. As you start typing them in, it'll start populating them. So it's not there on mine because I don't have that kind of traffic. So these are just common ones. So you can see that nice little list there. And then let's say you want to do HTTP. There's none of that in there. But if you want to go back to all of your just traffic, if you're like, okay, that's not doing what I want it to do, you just backspace everything out of there and hit enter, and it'll bring up everything that you just captured. Now, if you decide, hey, I want to do more traffic, all you have to do is you hit that little fin. I'm not going to do that right now, but all you have to do is hit that fin and sit there for a little while and then stop, and then you have more traffic. So let's see. What do we have? Let's go see what else we have for. There are also some other things that download had in it. It's got T-Shark for command line if you guys decide you want to mess around with the command line version of it. And then if you're interested, there is a section in that hacker target that shows your, where is that at? How to do GeoIP mapping, which is really interesting. There are some configuration sections. In fact, let me just stop this so I can show you where what I'm talking about. Okay, so can you guys see this? It's just the hacker target thing. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay. And hopefully it's a little bit easier to see now. Okay. Got a little bit easier to see. Okay. All right. So these are firewall rules, wall rules that you can talk about and you can use. Like I was talking about using T-Shark for the command line. There is Wireshark GeoIP mapping if you're interested in that. This is a really good overall how to use this stuff. You can do the, this is how you do an export of a log file. So remember me talking about log files, very important. This is how you do that for exporting that. And then this one is talking about after browsing an HTTPS site. And this is the sort of things that you'll see after you browse that kind of a website. So it's probably the nicest overall cheat sheet tutorial that I've been able to find. A lot of the other ones have, here's 30 million different steps on how to do something super simple. I hated a lot of those, but this one I really enjoy because it's got, okay, here's how to, if you want to go find out how to capture HTTPS stuff and how it looks, go out and do this, and this is what it's going to look like. And then right here, it's here's the decrypt tab, and here's how you use this decrypt tab and the SSL. So it's a really good one to mess around with. Yeah, that is one thing. If you're logging keys, don't put them online. If you're just messing around with your HTTPS traffic, someone with access to the key log file in your PCAP can find like your passwords and authentication cookies. So if you're doing that, make sure you delete that stuff afterwards, so you don't leave that sitting there for someone else to get a hold of. Another thing you could do that is they suggest using Burp Suite. Burp Suite is also a really good tool. So if you decide you want to go mess around with that, there's a section on Burp Suite. And then PCAP, extract files from PCAP is on here. PCAP, you don't have to use. These are just some, if you're bored and you want to go through some of the extra stuff that you can use, you can do that. But this is just your super basic. These right here are probably just the most super basic IP address and basic filters that you're going to use in Wireshark. So those are really what you need to know. And so can anyone tell me on that one there where it says IP address equals, what is the one underneath it? I'm talking about this one. Yeah, that is a CIDR notation, right? If I remember correctly, when you put there you go. It captures the subnet and IPs in there. So what you're looking for with some of these, it's like giving it a range. And that is kind of the nice thing, because then you can be like, I'd like everything, and remember us talking about network segmenting, everything in this chunk. That's what they're talking about. So, and now I know today's kind of everyone's Friday, and I've been in meetings all morning, so I absolutely understand. So that's basically all I want you guys to do with Wireshark, is to mess around with it, do a quick write-up. What I want you to do on the write-up, just because you need experience writing it up this way, write it up like you're writing up user documentation for a basic user. So this is where I downloaded it from. This is the steps. You know, a lot of you probably already have abilities to do this, but it just gives you good practice. Okay. And I'll also put that out and then on there too, just to give people who missed this, the information. But yeah, basically just step by step it. If you decide that you want to do it all in text, do it all in text. If you're like me and you're a fan of screenshots, use screenshots as well. I don't care. You can do either or. You can put it in a Word document file, or you can write it directly in there. Honestly, I prefer to do the Word document file if I was the one turning it in, because that way you have a saved copy of it that's a little bit easier for you to access for yourself. Okay, so let me stop sharing that screen. Are there any questions on the assignment before I let you guys head off and torture Wireshark for yourselves? Not really. Yeah, I'm not going to make you do it in binary. No, that is funny. Yeah, it's in an informal write-up. Just try to write it as if you're writing instructions for someone. Okay, does that make sense?
So our first instruction should be make sure that the power cord is plugged in.
If you want to go that far, then yes, by all means, you can go that far. I have written instructions like that.
Turn your router off, turn it back on.
Yes. Make sure it's turn it on and turn it off again, you know, type thing.
You guys
Yeah,
laugh,
we'll do
but
that.
for the MSI search desk, we actually have documents that for troubleshooting stuff says like ask the customer, is the machine plugged in?
I worked help desk for years. I totally understand that. There's certain levels of people when you're dealing with them that you're like, you have questions that you ask them that put you into those little things that you're like, okay, am I dealing with the person that I need to ask? Is your switch on your power supply turned on? Or there are people that are on all the way down on the bottom that are like, okay, I need you to go into the command prompt and type ipconfig/all, and then, you know, you never know what you're going to get when you're on the phones. So, all righty, so that's pretty much it for the instructions on this. I'm going to get stop.